doing a lot of press, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's you know, we're in the zone. This is our favorite subject, you know. I knew quite a bit because that's how the series originated. As a kid, I had a real interest and fascination with Marco Polo. And so much so that years later, I took my own 13-year-old son on a horseback trek across parts of central Mongolia, and we traced the Silk Road and parts of Marco's path, and also the Singing Sands in western China on camel. And it was that trip that really was the kind of lightning bolt moment for me, where I felt, you know, I need to write about Marco Polo finally. And also, I knew after that trip that the only way to do the Marco Polo story would be in a long arc TV series. And so that was the origin. Well, you know, on Marco Polo's deathbed in 1324, he was surrounded by his family, his relatives, and his priest, and they offered him a chance to take back his so-called fabulous tales. And, you know, he wasn't believed when he came back to Venice. And so they said, you know, you're going to meet your maker, you have nothing left to lose, do you want to take any of these stories back? And he said, I haven't told half of what I saw. And so our philosophy was we not only dramatize and explore the half that Marco Polo wrote about, but we also explore the half he might have seen. And also historians today who highly value Marco's writings do acknowledge that it's this interesting blend of fact and fantasy and legend. So that's how we approach it. I still work, you know, I'm still involved with them today with my interest in Marco Polo. But other than cross-referencing multiple translations of Marco's own accounts with Persian histories and Chinese chronicles, we had consultants come to the set from Mongolia and from universities in China.
I think like any good show or any good film, you start at the story and you use the visual to illustrate it and give it depth and give it meaning. So I think that's the way we approached it. I mean, we built some big, beautiful sets that were meant to impress. You know, we had the throne room of Kublai Khan, the world's most powerful emperor and warlord. And it had a lot of bling, a lot of gold. You know, he could have anything he wanted. And our production designer really pursued that and gave us a vast set that we set a lot of our drama in. So, yeah, the image is really important because this was a guy who was really theatrical, self-dramatizing, knew how to express power. So that was a big part of it.
Yeah, and I think in Marco's fresh eyes, coming in and looking at this world, to him this was almost futuristic. And Dan mentioned our production designer, Lily Kilvert, who did this amazing job in creating this world and these sets, and our costume designer, Tim Yip, of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon fame. He has a visual art approach that he calls New Orientalism, where his art, his costume design is rooted in actual Chinese history, but then it's heightened and pushed into new and edgier and interesting places. And that perfectly lined up with the idea of telling the story through the eyes of a stranger in this exotic world.
I think working for Netflix allowed us a lot of creative freedom. They encourage filmmakers to be creative, to think outside the box, to move forward, and not double back with exposition. You know, because we were thinking of this as one 10-hour movie in a way. we just kept going, and we were able to explore like smaller moments and get into the nooks and crannies and the delicacies of the court and the intrigue. And most of all, we tried to make it subjective to Marco, to see it through his eyes. He's the Westerner in this court, so we get to see it in this kind of fantastical way. And Netflix really encouraged us to think big.
Years later, I took my own 13-year-old son on a horseback trek across parts of central Mongolia, and we traced the Silk Road and parts of Marco's path.